The forum is a community service provided by the Berea Chamber of Commerce and their Public Affairs and Government Relations Committee. Now we've got some guidelines. They are about as simple as we can make them and as I can read them. So we'll go through these here, and it should be very smooth sailing, it seems like. Candidates, by the way, for the folks seated behind us, our guests and hello audience, how are you doing? We got a nice audience back there. Candidates are seated, as you can see them from left to right, in ballot order. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to make an opening statement. We'll be doing that first in just a couple of moments. Part of what we do tonight, and we've got it here, I guess, the fishbowl. After the opening statements, and we run through everyone, each candidate will start back around again. They'll draw one question from our fishbowl of questions submitted by Berea's business community. Now, questions will cover from the fishbowl here such things as the candidate's vision and priorities, also economic development to include tourism, as well as industrial and retail development, also the proposed community center, and also other capital construction projects, the restaurant tax, the budget, opportunities to cut expenses, planning and zoning, small business development, and if you're lucky, maybe a question or two on alcohol. So we'll see what we have in our fishbowl. And by the way, when we start around the room, by the time we start with our fishbowl, we can see that here. We'll probably be over here with Hubert by the time we do it, so it's at random, pulling out the questions. So we'll get to that. Speaking of that, after the candidate reads his or her question, just read the question. You'll have 60 seconds on the fishbowl question to answer it. As moderator, I do have a list here now of the questions. I could ask a follow-up question or for further explanation if you fail to respond to the question at hand. We'll keep that in mind and see how well you answer those questions. Do the best you can on them. Our timekeeper will notify you when you have used your time. By the way, after the candidate answers the question at hand, other candidates may elect to comment or follow up. Let's say when Hubert starts, he reads his question, goes 60 seconds. Okay, someone in the crowd may think, well, that's something I know a little bit about. I have a different opinion. Raise your hand. We'll come to you. You'll have 30 seconds quickly to give your different opinion. You'll get my attention on that. In the sense of time and fairness, each candidate will be limited to only 2 follow-up responses this evening. That's to avoid one or more folks dominating the conversation, of course, but it gives everybody fair and equal chance. At the end of our session, when we get through with the fishbowl, as it comes back around here, surprisingly, time waits for no one, so it's just going to roll up and have a lot of time by the time we get through with this. Then, at the end of our session, we'll have 60 seconds to make a closing statement going back across the room. Questions will not be taken from the floor. Our guests need to be respectful of each candidate. We want to thank the candidates and wish them well in the upcoming election. So without further ado, by the way, we'll get to this in a minute. I'll go ahead and say it now. Mr. Hoffman is not here at the moment. I think he's got a planning and zoning meeting. We'll come in later, we believe, and when he does, we'll get him involved with this. We also have a statement from Vi Farmer and her condition. We'll go through that. She sent us along a statement to provide here as well. At this time, we can start with our opening statements. Well, to my left and to the audience's left, we'll start with Truman Fields.
You ready? It's on. It must be muted. There you go.
Okay, I'm Truman Fields, and my thanks to the Chamber and to you folks for coming out on a bad kind of rainy night, but thank goodness we're getting some rain. I went to high school here, went to the foundation school, and I went to Berea College. My career is in education. I taught school and coached for 30 years, and I played several tennis tournaments. I've been on City Council for 10 years, and on that 10-year span, I served on just about every committee there is. I think I'm totally qualified for this, and my position is going to be to have City Council work as they can as a team for the entire city, for the betterment of Berea. I'm married, have a wife, and kids and grandkids, and I would like very much to be your representative sometime. Thank you. I'm number 1 on the ballot.
Evening. I'm glad you all made it out here despite the weather. It's kind of funny, there's as many candidates here as there are people in the audience, it seems like. First time I've ever noticed that. I'm Chad, and I am running for council, number 2 on the ballot. I'm a native Berea. I attended Berea College. I've studied performance. I have a weekly radio show, and I am an IT manager by trade and technology. I am very, very excited about running for office. This is something I've planned on doing for many years. I just happened to pick a very exciting year to start my campaigning. But I do look forward to talking to each of you and addressing your needs.
I'm Ronnie Terrell, and I'm running for re-election. I'm already on the council. I retired from IBM and Lexmark after almost 39 years, and they kicked me out. So I'm thankful for that. I'm a farmer. I was on the volunteer fire department for 20 years in Berea. I am running for re-election because I do think the citizens of Berea needs a voice. And that's the only reason I run 2 years ago, because nobody would speak up. It was yes. Every time somebody wanted to do something, it was yes. And somebody need to ask questions about the yeses. And that's what I've tried to do. Thanks. Did I break it? Test.
You turned it
Don't
off.
like it.
Hello, I'm Charles. Let's quit again. But anyway, I'm running for city council because I'm tired of the way things has been handled in the past. I'm just an average citizen like most of the people in Berea. I don't have a college education, but I've got good common sense. I believe we need change. I don't believe in higher taxes. I think if we manage our money better, we wouldn't need higher taxes. I'm against wasteful spending, and I would like to ask you to vote for me on November the 2nd. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Rich Belando. I'm a 43-year citizen of Berea. While here, I worked at Berea College in the alumni office as their director and director of student craft industry program. My wife Lila and I ran Churchill Weavers for 35 years. I was one of the original owners and developers of Popolino's restaurant, and I've served on a number of nonprofit boards. Those kind of life experiences, I think, bring something. I bring something with me that could help the city of Berea in its city government. I love Berea. We raised our 2 children here. It's a great community. And now I think that I'm retired, I'd like to give something back to a community that gave me so much. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Howard Baker. I'm a 30-year resident of Berea, and hopefully I didn't mess up your mail too bad. For about 25 years I was your postmaster, and I retired after 36 years of service. I have a degree from Eastern in Business Administration. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I am father of 3 children. I have 6 grandchildren, and luckily they're all relocating to this area now. So it gives me even more reason to want to be involved in the city here and the things that go on. I've been on the council, I was on the council for 15 years. During that time, I served on the finance committee. I helped bring the factories into this town from 1989 forward with Dr. Kirby and several others. And I have some priorities, but I think my number one is going to be jobs. We've got to have them, whether it's manufacturing, retail, doesn't matter. We just got to go after them and go aggressively. I do appreciate everybody being here, and thanks for your time.
My name is Diane Kirby, and I'm also a long-term resident of Berea. I came here many years ago to attend Berea College and fell in love with the town and the residents and made it my home. I did graduate from Berea College and went on to a career at Berea, from which I just retired recently as Vice President for Business and Administration. I believe that my experience at Berea and a senior management level position as well as my experience with civic organizations, nonprofit boards, gives me a perspective of being able to work well with a group of people who have a common goal, who have a vision for making Berea a better place and to improve upon the wonderful things that we currently have. And I would like to thank the Chamber for doing this. I think the more informed the voters are, the better decisions they make. And I am glad that all of you came out tonight on this rainy night.
Is this on? Okay. Hi. Hello, I'm Jerry Little. I've lived here in Berea 28 years. I'm running for a re-election. I want to thank the Chamber and all the people for coming out tonight. I'm running for council because Berea's been good for me and I want to give something back. And because of my work and business experience, I feel I have a lot to offer. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Troy Van Winkle. I'd like to thank the audience for being here, thank the Chamber. I'm a current council member. I've worked hard for the last 2 years. I'd like to continue to progress with the current council's doings, and I would appreciate your vote. Thanks.
Good evening, Berea. I'm Virgil Burnside, and I do want to start by saying I thank the Chamber for putting on this forum. It's a good opportunity to have all the candidates together. I've been around Berea for a long time. I won't date myself by saying how long. I'm running for re-election. The citizens of Berea has shown enough confidence in me and to allow me to represent them for 13 years, and I feel like that I can continue to represent them and be a voice as we move this city forward. It's dealing with the present, but it's also moving forward, and we need to have a vision for that. I've always served this community, and that's how I got involved before the city council. I did a lot of community services here, and I was very much interested in serving young people and was one of the original organizers of the Big Brothers Big Sisters program in this community. And whether I be on the city council or whatever, I will still give my time and my energy to the service of Berea because I believe it is a special place, and I look forward to continue to serve you. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Robert Johnson. Most people around here know me by Peanuts. My wife and I have lived here 21 years. We picked this from several places that we could have moved to. We had no friends or relatives here. We just picked it. And I graduated from high school in Memphis, Tennessee at Humes High. After finishing high school, I signed a baseball contract with San Francisco minor league, played 2 years. Couldn't make no money, so I went in the glass business, and I worked my way up from sweeping the floor to vice president when I retired in '99. Lived in 15 states, 3 foreign countries, and I think that owning a cab company now for 15 years, that it has given me the opportunity to know what the people of Berea want by meeting probably more than most people. All I ask for is a chance. Vote for me on November 2nd. I'll do my best for everybody in Berea, not 15, 20, but 15,000. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Brandon Rutherford. I'm running for Berea City Council because that we need to make the city grow some. We've lost a lot of business down. I would like to see more small businesses come into Berea so we have a better selection. I'm married, I have 2 boys. I'm employed by the U.S. Army as a firefighter. I went to Iraq as a firefighter, and I was also previously employed by the City of Richmond. And in every position, fire department I've been in a leadership role, so I'm used to working with different people. And I'm hoping to use those skills to help move forward the city of Berea forward by working with the council and seeing if we can get some businesses back into Berea to help the city grow so we can get factories in, small jobs, and so forth. And I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. I'm Billy Wagers, a lifelong resident of Berea, for re-election. I think all of us want what's better for Berea. There's a few things I'd like to mention that haven't been brought up yet. One is I'd like to maintain the 14 5-star rating on the yearly budget that we get from our auditors every year. A second thing I would like to consider or broach the subject on is having a district or ward system, dividing it into either 4 districts or 8, electing 2 council members from each district or ward so that there's more representation from the different parts of town. Third thing, I would like to see grants and monies coming in for the West Chestnut Street area to get those folks some money to fix our downtown up where we're proud of it, people coming into town. Other issues would be recycling is not sufficient. It's not nearly good enough. Another thing would be an audit of from KU or the Utilities Board to you call them, let them come to your house, see if you need to upgrade to how you can save your energy, get insulation, and maybe take the cap off the net metering. And the ward system would cut down on some of these campaign signs too. I think they're getting out of hand. And I have to stop. Thank you very much.
My name is David Saladino. I want to thank you for coming out tonight. I want to assure Billy that I'm not adding to the problem. I only have 5 signs in town. So I think he'll appreciate that. I come from a career of 30 years, over 30 years in higher education as a college professor. I moved to Berea to marry Gwen Childs, and she told me I've got to stop being an armchair politician, trying to change national politics. I finally realized that she was right, and so my goal is to get on the city council and spend my energies where it really matters, in local politics, where everything starts. And so I hope I can get your vote on the 2nd. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Hubert Chastain, Jr. I am a candidate for Berea City Council. I moved Berea in 1963, and during that time, I was a building contractor. And the things that the city does, I'm well experienced. I've probably got more experience than all these people put together. And as I've traveled over Berea, I've talked to the citizens, and I understand their needs and their concerns. And I think that people as a whole are not being representative. In my opinion, if you leave one person out, you've left them all out. And the drainage problems and things that we got and the projects that they're doing, they don't need to, what we need to be doing, we need to be taking care of our infrastructure first. And we need to keep our taxes and our utilities as low as we can. And if I'm fortunate enough to get you vote and I'm elected to the city council, I can go to work on day 1. I don't need no on-the-job training.
Just earlier, so along with opening statements, let's have this here. We had to change something in the camera, so we did that well. From By Farmer, I apologize for not being with you today. Unfortunately, I am undergoing treatment resulting from a prescription medication that caused me to suffer an adverse reaction. I very much appreciate the Chamber's willingness to allow me to submit a few comments for your consideration. The well-being of this community has been a passion of mine as a longtime citizen, a graduate of Berea College, a retired member of the faculty at Berea Independent School District, and as an elected representative on the Berea City Council. I consider myself a hard-working, responsible, dedicated team member with a vision for the future. I'm committed to fair and ethical standards in city government and responsible fiscal management for all Bereans. I'll continue to work to make Berea a business-friendly environment that supports a variety of types of businesses ranging from industry to service and education. Now together, The business community supports a sustainable Berea where we enjoy a great quality of life. Through my years of service, I've learned that careful planning, honest communication, and full cooperation make good government. Please allow me to continue to work with you and for you on Berea's City Council by making your voice heard on November 2nd by voting Vi Farmer. Thank you. Our statement from Vi Farmer. I was looking for Mr. Gerard, if we had a statement from Mr. Hoffman. We'll go ahead and we'll just pull him out of the audience. If that's okay. Okay. Now with this technology, I may need him to thumb it up for me. You know what I mean? My daughter and wife can do these things, but I'll just start reading here from Mr. Hoffman. As I mentioned to David's assistant by phone last week, I will most likely be late to tonight's forum, so we hope to get him here soon. I am a commissioner on planning and zoning, and on the docket tonight is a potential new large retail business for Berea. I want to be sure that if this business is ready, that all goes smoothly for them, and I believe the best way I can do that is to be present, to comment and vote, be there tonight. I am afraid the political forum, I guess, will have to take a back seat to being here tonight until he can get here. Also, since the time of my phone call, a client's spouse has died. I will be present with this friend and client tonight to assist as needed. Again, I will most likely be late. In the event, and we'll roll it up here, in the event I am not there for the question and answer portion, that's coming up, our fishbowl here, I would like you to read this entire email to the group. Since 1999, I've worked with the Chamber. I was on the executive board. Let's see. For Sandra Boland's 2 years as president, then for most of Paul Reynolds' 2 years at the Chamber. I have served as secretary, vice president, and for a few months, president. In the past, I have been active on committee work, chairing the, nominating committee twice, the bylaws committee twice, and the public affairs and government relations committee. I have worked with 4 executive directors, including David. I contributed $2,000 to the fund drive for a building, it says for a building and I guess maybe full-time executive director. I went on the Paducah trip, which is still paying dividends to the Chamber. I apologize if I'm unable to attend, but more important priorities on new jobs for Berea and the duties to a friend and client trump the Chamber's candidate session. Thank you for your help with this matter, and he'll hopefully be along before we finish. Thank you, Greg. All right, we are through our opening statements. Aren't you relaxed now? A little bit better? That always helps. Audience, can you hear us okay? You got everything? Okay, all right. We're always making sure that we got plenty of volume in the conch and gem. It always helps to get through that first segment, get it on out of the way, and at this time, we will start with our fishbowl questions. We'll start with Hubert Chastain on this side, drawing one out. You can swirl them around, mix them up. You don't know what you're going to get, but maybe fish one out of there, kind of like bass fishing there, Hubert, and pull one out and then answer it. You'll have 60 seconds. If there's someone who wants to follow that up or have a different opinion, raise your hand. After he's finished with his 60, you would have 30 seconds. Now, we don't know if we'll get somebody for every question like that, but we may get one or two, and if we don't want to miss you if you want to add to that. But we'll start with our questions. He's pulled one out. We're ready. It's not working. That sounds like it.
Okay, the question is if elected, what will be your priorities during the coming term? Well, 60 seconds wouldn't give me enough time, because out talking to the people, they got a lot of concerns. And they're concerned about these high taxes and fees being charged on utilities that they don't think should be charged. they're concerned about their waterways that's stopped up and nothing's being done about it. They're concerned about jobs and list goes on and on, and we just have to take them one at a time.
My question is, the current sign ordinance seems to be selectively enforced with little or no consistency throughout the business community. What needs to be done to ensure that all businesses are held to the same standards? Well, I don't think the businesses have the say on what the sign ordinance is. I think the city needs to look at the issue and meet with business leaders and come up with a solution to the problem. I think that there ought to be strong input from the business community about this issue, and then the council needs to delve into it and come up with the final product.
Do you support the recruitment of more industry and retail development? If so, what will you do to ensure that this happens? Absolutely do support recruitment of more industry and retail development. We need to do much more of that, and in fact, we're working on that now. This has to be a coalition of the Planning and Zoning Board, Industrial Authority, and the Council to work together, and particularly the Planning and Zoning Board. There's an incentive from the state that you can get some development by cutting the occupational tax to 1.5% that the state will take out of the people's wages to get back to the company. They still pay the 2%, the 1.5%, 2%, 3%, but we get the 1.5% back to the company. I can't ensure that that will happen, but I can assure you that I will work with those three institutions to make sure that we can and try to get some more industry and development, not just cottage industries and incubators and things of that nature.
Okay, bear with me. I got a book here. The current administration has elected to defer many related costs of improving our roads to future generations, as decisions were made to mill the surface or just add another layer of blacktop to the surface. Consequently, in many areas throughout town, the road is higher than the curb and gutter, which presents some real liability issues for the city and an unrecognized risk for pedestrians as they use the sidewalks. How can we better address the issue now rather than expecting our children to deal with the issues and related costs, which will be significantly higher than today's construction costs? I view this as not just as roads, but with their infrastructure completely all throughout the town. You know, we need to go back and look. Everything that was put in 1940 was not put in to last 100 years or so forth. We need to go back, and a lot of these projects, storm sewer, roads, sidewalks, everything has to be maintained just as we maintain everything at our homes. It's the same thing with the city. It's not popular because it costs a lot of money, but at the same time it has to be done, and we need to look at and come up with a plan to get these things done. Regardless of the price, we've got to work to keep our infrastructure up and going. If we don't do it now, it's going to cause more problems down the road, as we've seen with the flooding back in the spring. Now we're doing a reaction instead of looking towards the future. So I think that's something that the city's going to commission, or council is going to sit down and come up with a plan to address these issues and look at, rather than resurfacing the road, maybe it's time to just fix the entire road. Thank you.
Just a reminder, once again, if anybody does want to comment or follow up with a response, 30-second response, just raise your hand to a current question that is being answered. That would be okay to do as we make our way around.
My question is, what is your vision for Berea in 4 years? What will our community like under your leadership? Well, it's hard to say in 4 years, but under the leadership, I would hope that we would all be working together, council, mayor, whatsoever, Also, I think we need to work with the outer area of Berea, which has been left out mainly because we're dealing with about 15 to 20 people instead of the 15,000 we have in Berea. I have always tried to help everybody in any area I can. We are working on our water treatment plant. I hope within 4 years it would be in and we would have plenty of water, bring in industry, and just hopefully that if I'm elected, I can help lead Berea into the future. Thank you.
I wanted to respond to the question about the roads, but didn't. 30 seconds. Is that too late to do that?
Well, I mean, we got 30 seconds. That'd be okay, David? I think. Let's go ahead and do, 30 seconds. Virgil, that's not too long, but you go right ahead.
Yeah, well just quickly, I think that's an interesting question, but I think there's a couple of things to keep in mind. The cost of milling and resurfacing as well, whether you can do that every time a street needs that is a question. I think it is in the city's plan that every so often when it gets to a certain height, you do mill it down. But we also need to be cognizant of the fact that many roads in Berea are state highways as well, and that's not at the city's purview in how those are going. Just wanted to share that. Now, David, do I get to draw? Okay. Let's swirl them around here and Well, I probably should have left them lay where it is. I always get one of the more interesting one, and I think the last forum I participated in, I had got this question as well. The question reads, would you please state for our record how you would vote, yes or no, for allowing, guess what, beer or wine to be sold in Berea's restaurants that have 50 or more seats and derive at least 65% of their sales from food, no bars and no liquor stores? It's always an interesting question, and I keep wondering sometimes after a vote on that, why we back asking the council, in this case here. I think I've been on the record before in saying that I had done research and looked at various cities which has had more sales. Those cities was not harmed by that here. But I also want to be on the record for saying I think the citizens of Berea has spoken about that vote, and for me, that's where it's at. My vote is just one vote, basically, in that sense. So, allowing sales, I have a brother in Danville. I go there. Their town seems to be doing well with that, but is it for everyone? And Berea said it's not for them. So, that's where I'm at, in between. So.
How do you feel about term limits? I would be supportive of 8-year term limit.
With Berea College, Eastern Kentucky University, and the University of Kentucky here in our backyard, what can be done to stop the brain drain and create high-paying engineering and technology jobs in Berea and Madison County? Well, if anybody knows the answer for that, I guess you could sell it and just make $1 million. But I think we need a technical school myself. And you know, that's to learn these kids how to, the ones that's not interested in going to college or learn them a trade myself. That's a vocational school is what I think we need. I'm not answering the question. I don't know how to answer, you know, how we would create high-paying engineering and technology jobs in Berea and Madison County. You know, we need a vocational school is what we need to help our children, and that's just the whole answer I've got for that.
We have before we move along, we have a follow-up, a 30-second follow-up to that current question.
To the term limit questions, can I follow up 30? I'm not for them. The voters do that themselves, I think. And case in point would be Mr. Jennings, who's not running this year with 14 stellar years on the Audit and Finance Committee. Ms. Farmer's been here 22 or 3 years, and I think ultimately that's the voters' decision in this particular little town. Thank you.
Yes.
Here, first. That's,
I think that's a very, very important question, especially as we move into a 21st century economy, is how do we as a small city piggyback on what state and federals are doing, governments are doing as well, and moving ourselves in that direction. Part of that is supporting, I think, the kind of infrastructure that we need to attract those kinds of businesses. And some of that is obviously high-tech kinds of things, particularly if you wired for the internet, if you're able to provide those kinds of services as well. And those are something the city of Berea may want to look at real quickly. So,
Is it my turn? The question that I have is, should the offices in City Hall be staffed and available to do business during the lunch hour each day? Okay. I think that a customer service attitude for all of the services that the city provides is essential. Recognizing that the taxpayers are the customers and the people that we serve. So I would advocate hours that would be better for citizens who might work, who might not be able to get there during normal working hours. Also, better communication, things available on the internet so that you don't have to go to City Hall for services. So the answer is I would advocate a customer service hours and attitude.
Virgil, we the luck of the draw, I think, here. My question is, do you believe that the sale of alcohol in Berea, in whatever form is approved, will provide a positive impact to Berea? To answer that question on the surface, obviously it would. There would be more restaurants and things of that nature if we don't go to the moral issues, and of course it's a popular vote issue. But I think we all know, and just answering that question the way it's written, of course it would help economic development.
Yeah, I'd just be one vote, but people talks about the benefits of that. Well, Richmond's got it, and they went bankrupt. It's just like on the taxes, the restaurant taxes that they're using to promote tourism. All these other businesses in town, who's promoting them?
My question is, on a scale of 1 to 10, and 10 being the highest, how would you rate 10? Berea is so tied to the tourism reputation that it has developed over the years. And there should be, tourism is just one piece of the puzzle. We need other industry, we need small businesses, we need different kinds of opportunities for people to work in. And tourism is just one of them. Many towns would give their eye teeth to have the tourists come to their towns the way we have tourism come to our town. And it's a clean industry, and it brings a lot of jobs to the community. A lot of people don't realize that, but it does. Thank you very much.
Oh, you don't have it?
Didn't start rolling. He was midway through before I could hit record.
We'll just have to go with it. Charles?
My question is, what is your opinion on the role of tourism in Berea and the associated restaurant tax to support tourism activities? Well, I think that arts and craft is mostly what Berea was founded on, a big part of what Berea was founded on, and I think it's a very huge part of Berea. But I think that we can keep that and expand our businesses and create jobs as well. The restaurant tax, as you know, I'm against higher taxes. I think the tax is too high. I know we need taxes to function as a city, but I just think that we're just overtaxed, and we need to lower those taxes. Thank you.
We have a follow-up. David?
Tourism is what we're known for, and it gives an opportunity for businesses to piggyback on that. I think the character of the town is derived from tourism. It's derived from the clean industry. It gives people a chance to market their skills in a place where the skills would not be marketable. There's a venue here, and it's a great industry to have people understand it.
Kyle, let me respond to that question too.
You're up with your question, but yeah, you can jump in. That's okay, and then follow it with your question.
I do think the tax is too high, that 3%. But the city council, we voted to set aside 1.5 cents to go into for parks, trails, or event center. And the administration ignored that. We passed it right before the budget. We wanted to take their budget and redo it and take half that money out. And we was ignored. Thanks. My question. I've got a good question here. Why is it taking so long for the city council and planning and zoning folks to address the chicken ordinance?
They've been waiting on that one.
I tell you what, it seemed like we was more concerned about the chicken ordinance than we were flooding in May. But actually, it was communication. I think we sent it back to planning and zoning twice. And finally, it's coming out of planning and zoning, where it's going to be a condition use. We're going to charge $35, I think, for a permit. And I think it will pass. I think it's going to come up right after the elections, like October the 16th. Thanks.
We have a follow-up, Troy. We need to get a microphone there.
To follow up on the chicken ordinance, I think you would have had an answer on that if it wasn't an election year. That's been the holdup of the chicken ordinance on the city council, and the planning and zoning has sent it, and everybody's chose to set it aside and not step up and vote. I stand ready to vote on anything in an election year or any time.
All right, I've got a long question here, so bear with me for a second. Historically, our economic development organizations have chased manufacturing with Toyota and their automotive food chain as a model. In a global economy, many of these manufacturing jobs have been taken overseas. What can be done at the local level to help our manufacturers be more competitive? Well, first of all, that brings out a really good point. Being in the automotive food chain is not necessarily the best place to be. Historically and traditionally, small jobs and medium-sized businesses employ a lot more people than large manufacturing jobs anyway, so we do need to be diversified. As far as keeping these large manufacturers, at the local level, there's only so much we can do. We can offer as many benefits as we can, but if they can't get the business, we can't sell the cars for them. So it's a really great question, and it's something that of course, we would like to have the answer to, but there's no easy answer. All I can say is that we can support and advertise for them and make sure we're a diverse city, so we're not so dependent on one particular avenue for income.
We have Virgil, you've been twice already. We only get two, sorry.
Hello? Okay, my question is, please describe your long-term strategy for economic development for Berea. Well, of course, planning and zoning is extremely important, along with tourism. If people come here and see our town, I really believe we have one of the best little towns anywhere in the country, in the world. I think they'll be glad to come here and so forth and work. And what can we do for our kids to be ready for these jobs and so forth? My big push is going to be on a vocational school. Now, we've got the ground out there, and a vocational school is coming, and I want to get that here as soon as possible. I was fortunate enough to be president of a board of education where we had a vocational school, and I saw it do tremendous amounts of good. So if we can get a vocational school here, improve on our planning and zoning and tourism, I think we've got something going real great for our kids. Each person doesn't need to go to college. We need to teach some of our young people jobs, something for jobs.
Well, we've gotten through our second segment. We're going now. We're doing well. Thank you all for that part. I believe if there was no follow-up to the final question, we're ready for our closing comments at this time. We'll start back. We'll give Truman a little moment to catch his breath. But we're into our closing comments here now. This is for the, and I had, David, you can correct me, but I think I had 90 seconds limit on that. But yes, closing comments. And keep in mind, you know, I know you guys were busy with the League of Women Voters. They did a fabulous job a week or two ago, or a week ago. This may be our final time for something such as this. So maybe if there's something you haven't talked about or you want to use that in your closing statement, now would be the chance to do that. We'll start with Truman.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now here we go. Okay, here's what I would like to see come into Berea and so forth. We need open government. Microphone. We will. Okay, economic opportunity. That's our number one problem we have in Berea. Could you help me with this mic?
We need one of the wired mics, I believe. We might ought to use the wired mic the rest of the way around.
Okay, I'll start all over. Okay, here's what I would like to see come to Berea. I would like to see an open government. Anyone can come and watch. Everything will be televised, nothing secret, with a balanced budget. And I would like to check every dollar that comes in and goes out. A lot of people have said we're spending too much, we're not spending enough. I would like to be one of the people that checks that. Better water and traffic solutions, we've got to get that. How do you do that? You get an engineer, someone who knows what the situation is, and then we get some people to go ahead and take care of it. We need it, particularly for some of the people that live in some areas that have a lot of water and traffic problems. Let's get the vocational school. We need positive relations with Berea College. I would like to see another good grocery store come in. We could use another good grocery store. I would like to see council work as a team for the betterment of Berea. I'll tell you what we don't need. We don't need another bank, auto store, or a drugstore, but we could use a couple things that I've mentioned. Thank you.
I'm going to have to agree with Truman on the transparency of government. Do want to maintain transparency in government, make sure that people are aware. There's lots of technology out there now that we can make things more available and easier for the community at large to know what's going on and actually communicate. I mentioned in the League of Women Voters that it is fantastic to see the courtroom actually full on a few occasions this year when sometimes it's very scarce, the people that show up to actually see our government functioning. I went to see economic development. That will be my main goal as a whole. We need jobs here. I'm a big fan of supporting small businesses and avenues and exploring avenues that small businesses can develop in economically. Even the bike path, that's been something we've talked about. We talked about another city that used their bike path to actually build small businesses along that supported that. There are lots of avenues that we could be exploring, and I do want to look into those, and I'd appreciate your vote November the 2nd.
I will appreciate your vote too. I want to be a voice for the citizens of Berea, and I think that's something that we haven't done in the past is listen to the city's citizens' input. I do believe that we need to be working on our infrastructure, especially with the drainage problem, because in May we had that flood, and I was the only city council member down there helping rescue people out of their houses and hauling them out. But we did absolutely nothing until the July flood, and then we had a big premonition. I mean, we had a drainage problem. And we are working on that, but it's going to take some time. But I don't have an agenda. I just want to do what's right. Thanks.
I'd like to thank the Chamber for allowing me to promote myself as a candidate. My main concern for Berea is our kids. I think we need to do more for our kids as they are our future leaders. My second most important issue is jobs for Berea. I think we need to attract businesses. We can do that with tax breaks and tax incentives. And we need to work together and get things done. Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to thank the Chamber for giving us an opportunity for this forum and for y'all to come out and listen to us. I've learned a lot by going around to the visits folks in Berea, and I've discovered that there seems to be a disconnect between the people, citizens of Berea, and their city government. And one way I thought that we might, or I might be able to help in solving that problem is to offer a forum. And if elected, I myself am going to offer every 2 months a forum where the citizens can come before us, or before me, and if any other council member wants to come, and tell us their problems, and maybe even suggest solutions. You know, Berea's got a lot of smart people in it. The people up at the council, city council, are not the only smart people in Berea. And I think that by doing that, we can develop a better city government that speaks for all the people and gets some of the problems solved that apparently we have solved. And I appreciate your vote on November 2nd, if you so desire. Thank you.
As with everyone else, I do appreciate everyone's time for coming, and I'm glad to hear all the emphasis on the economy and bringing more jobs here. And very important to me is keeping the jobs that we have here now. We have to start paying more attention to the industries we have, to our retail businesses. We need to work with the sign ordinance, as David said, and those kind of things to make sure we've got it right. And I don't want my family, my friends, having to drive to Richmond and Lexington to buy a pair of shoes or anything else. We should have it here. This is a big enough town. One thing I would like to see done, 3 years ago when we had to pass this tax package, unfortunately, we said we would review those taxes every year. I'd like to do that. I'd like to see that done every year. We may not can reduce them, but we certainly need to give it a chance. And as far as our parks go, I think we can make some expansions without a lot of money. I'm very proud of the park systems. I hope everyone is. But we need a dog park here for people. That can be done on city property very cheaply. And we have a firing range at the old landfill. Why not make it a part of the parks program and make a firing range for public to use? But I promise I'll make the right decisions for the betterment of Berea and its people. And I would appreciate your vote and support next Tuesday. Thank you.
I would, if elected, do my best to provide leadership, working with other council members to continue the excellent services that we have in Berea, to continue to promote the uniqueness of Berea through tourism and the arts. I would also search for ways to have more citizen involvement in our government system, either by ad hoc committees or forums or a variety of ideas that I can't go on in 60 seconds. I would also continue the good fiscal responsibility that has been mentioned with the good audits, suggests good fiscal planning for the future, and continue our efforts towards being a sustainable Berea, and in short, work to make and continue to make Berea the unique place that attracted me here many years ago, and I would appreciate your vote.
Well, the first thing, I'm not a politician. You know, people can tell you anything, but what they do is what counts. And you can look at my record over the past 2 years. I really feel we've got a pretty good government, but we've got to keep on working every day for the betterment of Berea, our citizens, and our city employees. And I sure would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Well, I don't know what you say after all those good comments, really, and I'm definitely not a politician, but it has been my pleasure to serve on the city council for the past 2 years. It's been my pleasure to grow up here. I've been a successful businessman in Berea. I think I've brought some of that good common sense to the Berea City Council, and I will continue to do that. I always stand open. My phone number's the same. You can call me, and I stand ready to vote and stand up for what you want at any time, and I appreciate your vote. Thanks.
I have a record because I've served for 13 years, and people can look at that. We've made some tough decisions. The tax issue a few years ago was really tough, and part of that was in response to some of the other questions that came about in terms of how to preserve this city. The other evening I was reading a copy of the Bluegrass Ad magazine, which lists a lot of statistics, in particular talking about water and other kinds of issues in the 16 or so counties that Ad is in. The fastest growing city is Berea. There's a demand for resources and services and the improved quality of life, and you've got to be practical and find ways to pay for that. None of us like to do it, but if we want it, you got to find ways to do it, and that's the reality of it. And I would just say that my goal is, if I'm able to continue on council, if I so choose to allow me to do so, is to ensure that all departments of the city have the necessary personnel and resources to continue providing an appropriate level of services to our residents. To continue working with others to develop and implement a traffic plan that integrates vehicular and pedestrian needs, and to assist with developing and maintaining the city infrastructure so that it would be responsive to the city's growth and attractive to potential businesses. I would also advocate more collaboration between the city and the chamber. I think they ought to have meetings periodically together so that they can be on the same page and helping move this community forward in its development as well. So I hope you know my commitment and dedication to Berea, and I hope you allow me to continue to serve you on November 2nd. Thank you.
I want to thank the Chamber for having this forum for us. I've lived in Berea 21 years. When I came here in 1989, there was about 9,000 people living in Berea. And my understanding now, we got around 15,000. In the last 15 years, I've run a cab company here, and I see more people probably than most of them. I'm not bragging, I'm just saying I see them. I've took them to grocery stores where they'd have to take something back to have money to get back home on. We need to help a lot of people in some way, if we can, that's living on fixed income that is struggling to get by. And you can ask a lot of people. I give free rides because they don't have the money to get back on. The bus service does great, but it doesn't go to a lot of the places that the people that we need to help. We got people here in Berea that's on starvation wages. We keep increasing taxes. It doesn't help any on these people. It might not hurt you or I to go buy $1 loaf of bread or $2. People's on fixed income, they don't have it. On November 2nd, I appreciate your vote. I'll do what I can to help the 15,000 people instead of the few that we are helping now. Thank you.
Brandon, before you start, we with our video hookup here, we're making a quick switch, and that won't take very long, they told me. I think we got it ready to go. We have a few more remaining on our closing comments. Brandon?
You may think I'm beating a dead horse here, but I think the biggest problem we have in Berea right now is jobs and businesses leaving Berea. Over the last 10 years, we've seen so many businesses leave Berea. We've lost both car dealerships. We've seen Walmart run everybody out of town pretty much, so we have no choices. I think the solution to that is the Berea City Council, the Chamber of Commerce, current business owners, and people who have property all getting together and coming up with a plan of action to try to get new businesses in. You know, we need to utilize what we have. I'm not throwing a plug for anybody, but you have a man sitting on the council right now who is a car dealer. He knows every car dealer in this state, I'm pretty sure, that could bring a new car business into town. We need to use all the resources that we have to get businesses into town. If we do this, then we'll have money to pay for our infrastructure. We won't have to raise taxes, because the more businesses you have, the more tax revenue you'll have coming in, and that will eliminate the problem of having to raise taxes on our citizens, because we'll be gaining taxes through these businesses. And I believe that's the biggest problem we have in Berea right now, is getting businesses into town. Thank you.
We seem to have weathered the economic downturn and the storm that hit everybody the last 2 or 3 years. As Howard alluded to, I think we probably need to go back and look at these taxes every now and then. And as he said, we may not be able to lower them, but they need to be looked at. Right now, Tequico's expanding. We seem to be doing well. A couple other things I'd like to see us do is pass a fairness ordinance, as Lexington and Louisville have done, and look into a tree city, being a tree city. Also, the citizens also have a challenge to know what's going on, as you people have, because you've come here tonight. You may be watching it on the internet or Channel 12 when it is, but we can't get the message out to everybody, and so everybody in town has a responsibility to learn what's going on. They can call us, or they can call anybody. There's resources out there to find out what's going on. And whoever's elected, whoever comes out on the 8th, I would suggest that all of us, whoever it is, get along and do your homework, do the best you can for Berea. That's what we want. And I promise to do my homework. Thank you.
It would be nice to have businesses come in, industry come into Berea. The more, the better, sometimes people think. But this economy has been the worst it's been in 60 years. And because we have clean industry, because we have tourism as a base, we're positioned to really be in great shape once the economy starts to turn around. Because the businesses here are locally owned. I'm a small business person. I have a landscape design consulting company. It's just me, and I'm making it out of whole cloth. And that's what a lot of people in Berea are doing. They're being businesses, and we need to develop our people so that those things that are brought into town can't be taken away quickly, which is what happens a lot of time. You'll bring an industry in, and the next thing you know, it's gone, because the parts can be manufactured more cheaply. So this is a great town. I've been to a lot of towns. People find out through Facebook, I've just discovered that, and they say, "Oh, you're in Berea? I've been to Berea. It's a great town." So, I mean, we have a good thing going here, and the level of taxation here is not high. Believe me. What we're getting for the taxation that we have, the restaurant tax, which is paid mostly by people coming into town, is really giving us benefits.
Yeah, I'd like to speak on tourism just a minute. I'm not against tourism. I'm 100% for it. I just think that we should find other ways to fund it. I don't think that the average person should pay for it. I think we should look at the motel tax. We should not to tax the people, but a tax in the campgrounds and people that's benefiting from tourism. And these are just suggestions, and they ain't none of this set in concrete. But and another thing that people is concerned very much about is our water supply. 2 years ago, they had the new reservoir on a 5-year plan, and after 2 years, it's still on a 5-year plan. And if it wasn't for the election, you're getting ready to conserve water. It's coming. And if it wasn't for election, they done it. But I think we should take care of and maintain our infrastructure. And there's many more concerns, and I ask for your vote and support on November the 2nd, and God bless you.
Well, I want to thank everybody. It's great to have everybody together. Wonder what we could have done if we could have had rehearsal. That would have been kind of nice. But you guys held up well. This public speaking thing is kind of tough, you know? It's not easy. It's not easy. Answering on your feet with those fishbowl questions. You didn't know what was coming out of there, did you? You know, so that's kind of tough to do. But that's part of it. And kudos to you all for running and wanting to serve this city. It would be nice if we, everyone here, our audience as well, if we would give our candidates a great big hand before we lose them here. Yeah, great job, everybody. We, later tonight, coming up, we have the mayors. We'll do that, the two running there, the mayoral candidates. We'll do this again later, but we also want to thank, and they've been behind me all night, but thank you, audience, because we may lose some of you. If we did, or if we do, we want to thank you for being here. And I think the council appreciates that too. And before we forget it, we don't want to forget this later, I want to thank Mr. Gary Conkin and his staff here at the school for hosting us here, and our Berea Chamber of Commerce staff as well. What we're going to be doing, we're going to be taking a little break. We will have a little change in the tables. We're going to use less of them coming up. With the candidates for the mayor's office, so we won't need as many. We're going to have to do some reconfiguration here. We'll need a little time to do that. Folks can still take time to meet with our candidates here as they break up, but we want to encourage you to have refreshment breaks, soft drinks available, restrooms available out the foyer. Keep that in mind. We'll have you back here. We're looking for at about an 8:45 start with our next one.
David Palladino started talking before I could move the camera, so for like 4 or 5 seconds I'm focused on. Good job, man.